Guys, holy crap. It's time to introduce my own books. Welcome back, I'm the Book Guy. For the last year and a half, I have been introducing books on YouTube with objectivity, giving an unbiased report on all the good and bad things about each series to help you decide what you want to read. I've had hundreds of comments from people telling me I inspired them to read more books and I helped them find the right books for them. I'm extremely proud of my collective work. Yet somehow, I feel like it's all been leading up to this, the day I give an objective, unbiased report on my own books. I'm nervous as hell, but I'm ready for this. Some quick facts. My series, the Immortal Investigations, is coming to Kickstarter this month. It's an urban fantasy and mystery series, and the first 3 books are all coming out at once. There's a magic system, monsters straight out of mythology, and alternate history for all you nerds. It's a fast-paced series with a ton of action, high stakes, and world-shattering plot twists. Seriously. So many plot twists. And at the heart of this story is a group of characters that feel like old friends. And even, yes, a bit of romance sprinkled in. But just to be clear, this is not a sales pitch video. This is still going to be objective. Think of it like the YouTuber, the Book Guy, is going to be reviewing the author, Michael Cronk. And I'm sure my sanity is going to be hanging on just fine by the end of this.
Before this is over, I'm going to need a whole lot of serious therapy. Look at my eye twitching.
I'll be pointing out the weak areas of my own books and helping you know if the series is not right for you, because that's called journalistic integrity. Also, I hate it. So first, I'll explain what this story is all about. Then I'm going to go straight into the business side of things regarding the Kickstarter and how you can get your hands on these books. After that, I'll do the usual deep dive and analysis of the story. Let's go. Jason Turner is a rookie cop who dreams of becoming a detective and solving big crimes. Jason's roommate asks him for a police escort on his date with a supposed vampire. While acting as a skeptical chaperone, Jason meets Sylvana, a mysterious woman who is looking for a new husband, and possibly a new source of blood. In this quiet seaside town of Plymouth, England, secrets are everywhere. A cult of vigilante monster hunters are hosting public events and gaining popularity. People claiming to be immortals are roaming the town at night, and they're up to something. Then there's Sylvana herself, who's eager to get closer to Jason and tell him fantastic stories about secret societies and immortal magic. But Jason has his own dark secrets. And he can't help being suspicious of Sylvana and her strange family, even as his attraction to her grows. The closer he gets to her, the more his fellow officers begin to suspect his involvement with that recent bizarre murder with a corpse drained of blood. Jason believes he can learn about this underground world and use his knowledge to solve old crimes, proving himself a great detective. Yet he is about to get a whole lot more than he bargained for. Okay, so this trilogy is coming to Kickstarter running from the 30th of September to the 1st of November, yes, 2024. The launch page is already up now, the link is in the description below, and remember all the details of the Kickstarter will be visible on the day of launch. And of course, this video is going to be online forever as far as we can tell, so if you're watching this post-2024, the books will already be on my website at this point. You can skip this part, but everyone else for today. There are 2 simple options for this Kickstarter, and 2 fancy options. Ooh. The 2 simple options are quite literally just a physical copy of the book or a digital copy of the book. Easy. You can buy all 3 books or just one if you want to, whichever you prefer. The great part of doing this option by Kickstarter is that they will be cheaper because we're placing a bulk order with the printer, and if you print in bulk, it's a lower rate. If you buy this after the Kickstarter, they cost slightly more. Another great part is you won't have to wait very long. Usually with Kickstarters, you tend to wait 6, 12, 18 months before you actually get the thing. Not so here. The Kickstarter finishes on the 1st of September, and I have a goal to ship it all out by the 1st of December, literally just 1 month later. So it should have a super quick turnaround time. That said, I am technically still doing final edits of books 2 and 3, and I will need to be 100% happy with them before I give the green light. I'm not going to rush the books for a deadline, quality first. I don't want anyone leaving a 1-star review because the book felt rushed. I want 1-star reviews because they think the book sucked or they don't like my personality. The point is, we're aiming for a December fulfillment, but I will update you if that changes, okay? As for those 2 fancy options, the first is a box set. Oh, I'm so excited for this. I love box sets. And now I have my own. So you see how all 3 of these books have a significant object on the front cover. You know, the goblet, the sword, the crown. Well, the box set comes with a custom design on the outside that incorporates all 3 objects at once. And it looks fantastic. This fancy option will also include autographs. Yeah, in case you want a signed copy by little old me. If you're into that, then yeah, they will be autographed. So weird. Now, because the box sets will be coming to me for signing and then going out to you again, it will take a little bit longer, and postage might be a little bit more than the regular option. Also, if you like the box set, we're actually offering a deluxe box set, which will include an exclusive merch box. The merch box will have a ton of goodies, and I can't reveal them today, but they will be up on the Kickstarter soon. Things like beanies, bookmarks, keychains, and all the little delightful knickknacks you come to expect from a Kickstarter book launch. Please note, we're only offering the merch through the deluxe box set. You can't add that to other options, unfortunately. Sorry, it's beyond our capacity. Now, there's one last option, and this is the best one of all. Audiobooks. You see, the whole reason I want to do a Kickstarter is I want to crowdfund audiobooks. This option will have the longest wait time, because once the books are funded, we will then start production, and that can take between 6 to 9 months. But production will also depend on how popular this option is, because if we have heaps of backers for the audiobooks, we will be able to afford a top-of-the-range famous narrator who I would love to see. And if this option goes less well than that, which is fine, we have some backup narrators already in mind, which we will be able to use. They are mid-range, but still professional quality. So this is my biggest hope, that you will all support the audiobook specifically, because I'd love to get my dream narrator, but shh. Okay, just to recap, we have those 2 simple options of a physical book or an e-book, and they have a very short delivery time. Then there are the 2 fancy options, the box set and the deluxe box set, with the merch with a slightly longer delivery time. Then there's the final option, the audiobook, with a longest delivery time, but with my eternal gratitude. Once again, the Kickstarter is running from the 30th of September to the 1st of November 2024. And that's it. Now, let's dive deeper into this world. This is an urban fantasy, meaning it's set within the real world and blends fantasy elements. The world draws from mythology, urban legends, and myth, but the defining trait is that everything is just a little different than we thought. For example, vampires in this world have a lot of misinformation about them. They don't burn in sunlight, they don't shapeshift into bats. In this world, they are surprisingly human. They just grow more powerful depending on how much blood they've consumed. So there are extensive and strictly enforced laws that control a vampire's blood consumption so that they don't become too powerful. It's been a long time since anyone has seen what a vampire is truly capable of. That's a Chekhov's gun!
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
But this is a common theme. Everything we think we know about monsters and magic and mythology is all a little bit wrong. Like it's been filtered through time and things have changed with every retelling. Our history is always slightly off, which means you never quite know what to expect. Nynaeve, stop scratching my microphone post. Oh, thanks for helping, Nynaeve. So I want people who have not read fantasy before, or who haven't picked up a book in years, to be able to pick this up and dive straight in. So it won't be like Malazan, where with a sink or swim, level of complexity. The first book really does ease you into it quite smoothly, yet even by the end of the first book, there's already a ton of fantasy elements and even a magic system. Then book 2 dives a lot deeper into the fantasy again, and book 3 even more so. I designed it that way because I want to find a middle ground between leading new readers into fantasy and giving established fantasy readers enough to keep them satisfied. So if you pick up book 1 and it doesn't seem that fantasy straight away, be patient. Now, as for the whole secret society of magic type of thing, it's hard to talk about without spoilers, because half the plot is our main guy trying to be detective and looking into this. What I can reveal is that they call themselves immortals, and they have a ruling body known as the Immortal Imperium, who have very strict laws. Now, they're not true immortals. They're not like the elves in the Lord of the Rings that will literally live infinitely. They're just long-lived. The oldest among them are over 900 years old. No one has ever lived past 1,000, so that seems to be the limit. But because they are long-lived, they're a little old-fashioned. They still believe in monarchies, the divine right of kings, class systems, and caste systems. Many of their laws were written 500 years ago in the Middle Ages and haven't changed at all, including torture methods. Some of the leaders among the Imperium today are the same leaders who did terrible things in the past. One last thing that I can reveal is that the Imperium has a very tight control of information. It's a major theme in all of this series, the secrets that the immortal leaders hide from the world, both mortal and magical worlds. And let me tell you, I've got a ton of big secrets I'm sitting on for this series. Okay, so most of the plot lines in this series are mysteries. And seriously, this is proper mystery, because I'm sick of seeing mystery plot lines done wrong. I'm seeing a lot of plot twists these days in books that aren't real plot twists. They're not even surprises, they're just new information. I read a book recently where someone got murdered, and everyone's thinking, I wonder who did it. And then we find out who did it. And it's like, okay, well, now that is information I have, I guess. Like, there were no clues, no stakes, and no consequences for the reveal. This happens because authors seem to think that a plot twist is about tricking the audience. But it has nothing to do with that. The point of a plot twist is that all the clues we've seen so far all make sense in one dramatic moment. It's a cascade of ideas fitting into place like a domino effect. It's not about whether or not the twist was predictable. It's about all the foreshadowing coming together with one resounding clap. That's where the satisfaction comes from. So my books have real mystery, which means there is a question posed. There's a ton of foreshadowing. Then there's a revelation that actually makes sense and has consequences and means something going forward. Some of you might guess these plot twists. In fact, I really hope you do. Please, try to guess the plot twist and tell me about it. I'd love to know. Because mystery plot lines are not about the author tricking everyone. It's about the tension that comes from not knowing. The intrigue, the build-up, and then the reveal. Okay, apparently I have strong feelings on this.
You think?
Okay, besides the mystery, each of these books have 3 types of plot lines, and I only realized this while I was writing the script, that they all have 3 plot lines, and it kind of hurts. There's always an external mystery plot line. In each book, a crime happens pretty early on, and we need to figure out the whodunit. This allows us to explore the inner culture of immortal society and find out who are all the players in this game. The crimes are also tricky because they require an inner knowledge of what magics and superhuman abilities are available. And the motivations for these crimes are tricky, depending on the inner workings of immortal culture. But that's enough said on that. There's always a family plot line, and I have to be vague here, but in book 1, the family plot line takes the form of the romantic tension between Jason and Sylvana. In book 2, Sylvana's family is facing financial collapse. And in book 3, we explore the past. And finally, the third plot line is always the internal plot line. What's going on in the hearts and minds of the characters? Because every character gets an arc here. We'll get to that in a second. So because we have 3 plot lines in each book, it feels like there's always something happening. These are relatively short books. Book 1 is just about 400 pages. Books 2 and 3 are probably getting a bit closer to 500 pages. But there's always one of these 3 plot lines moving forward. Seriously, this is something that all my beta readers and editors said about the book, that these were fast-paced books where a ton of stuff happens. They are page turners. And again, it's because I want them to be read by people who don't read very often, who may not have the best reading muscles, so stuff needs to happen often and well to keep their attention. Yet these books don't feel rushed or too fast because we switch between plot lines. Each plot line still has time to simmer while we're focusing on the others. The balance is a bit tricky, but I do believe it works, but still, you'll have to tell me. Alright, I'm sure everything I've said so far has sounded pretty good. But honestly, characters are my strength as a writer. I don't know if this comes across in my videos at all, but I am very much a people person. I've got people skills. This is rare for a writer. So my characters feel like real people because I can actually talk to real people. So we've got just one primary protagonist in book 1, and that is Jason Turner, who aspires to be a detective. Now Jason is a very serious person, all work, no play. He comes across as grumpy and as a killjoy, but he's very dedicated to always doing the right thing and treating people with respect. Jason doesn't have many friends because he's hiding his own secret. He doesn't let people get close to him. One of my favorite parts of the series is Jason. We see a magical world from the perspective of a non-magical person. This is the story of Han Solo in a world filled with Jedi and Sith. How the hell does a regular person keep up with such powerful beings who operate on an entirely different level? By being bloody smart. Jason was a challenge for me to come up with clever solutions so he can keep up with his opponents, without ever relying on flimsy logic or convenience. I believe I've done that. Some of his moves are pretty damn good. If I'm being totally honest, in many ways Jason was inspired by the Reckoners trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, which is a series of regular folk fighting back against super powerful evil villains. Sort of like the boys, if you will. And I love the idea that the only way to keep up with someone who's so much more powerful than you is to constantly try to outsmart them. Sylvana is our leading lady. Now she has only a few point of view scenes in book 1, but from book 2 onwards she very much shares the spotlight. Sylvana has many layers to her. She lives under the very strict rules of the Imperium and under even stricter rules from her family. Yet when she's not trying to please everyone, we finally see glimpses of the real her. She's creative, loyal, playful. Sylvana is trying so hard to balance her own needs against everyone else's expectations. Now I'll be honest here, you know how I'm publishing all 3 books at once? It's largely Sylvana's fault. Curse you! You see, Sylvana is meant to be a character of contradictions. She behaves inconsistently because of the constant pressure she's under. Now, I thought it was brilliant, yet when my friends read book 1, they all said they didn't get her. And she made no sense, and she was contradictory in ways that wasn't clear. So, the whole reason I went straight on to writing book 2 was so I could write point of view scenes from her perspective and try to figure out how to write Sylvana. And honestly, it wasn't until I started working on draft 1 of book 3 that it finally clicked into place and I got her. And once I finally understood her, I then went back to book 1 and edited it, of course. Her story is all about trying to find her own individualism instead of getting wrapped up in pleasing everyone else. I've put a lot of work into her characterization and I'm thrilled with how it's turned out, finally. But she was a tough one to crack. And she's got her own few secrets too. We have a third protagonist in the series eventually. We only meet her briefly in book 1, but in book 2 onwards she becomes one of the leads, Portia, a vigil of the Imperium. The vigils are the enforcers of magical law. Portia is also an investigator, like Jason. But unlike him, she has a ton of power behind her. Portia is very calloused and has no problems with breaking her enemies when necessary. Yet she is starting to see the cracks in the system and wonders about her place amongst it all. She's also Scottish and she's well into her 2nd century, so I had a bit of fun with that. That said, I've put an absolutely ridiculous amount of effort into my side characters. Every single side character has a physical distinctness in their appearance, a unique way of talking talking, and an original personality. My goal was to always write their dialogue in such a way that if you removed the name of the speaker from the page, you could still tell who's speaking because no one else speaks like they do. It was tricky, but I get so frustrated when I'm reading books and all the side characters just blend together into a hot mess of nothingness. I hate books where every character speaks the same way. It's unrealistic. Now, to be clear, my books are not perfect in this area. There is still some overlap between tone of voice between characters. And because the books are so short and so plot heavy, there is just, practically speaking, a limit to how much detail I can go into for every side character. But considerable effort has been made, and I'm honestly very proud of it. One final note about characters here. I've said this many times on my channel about other books, and you'll finally see what I mean if you read mine. Characters need to make mistakes. It humanizes them. It's realistic. So yes, my characters screw up from time to time. Their plans fail. Their best intentions backfire. Sometimes, yes, they act selfishly. But at the same time, there are a lot of healthy relationship traits. These people communicate well. They are open about their mental health. They listen to each other. I get frustrated when there's drama in a book, but it's all just because the characters have never been to therapy and they don't know how to properly communicate, and it would just be fixed like that if they communicated better. I like to show that characters can still have healthy communications and healthy interactions and still have problems, because that's how life works. But in summary, I try to show that my characters are real people, warts and all. So what can we expect from the Immortal Investigations long term? Well, let's talk practically for a second. I know that this is a work of art, but it's also a product that I'm selling as part of my business, the book guy, so I can have an income and eat food, right? If this series goes really well, I'll write a bunch more. If no one cares, though, I'll need to work on other ideas. Because that's the reality of being a creator. You've got to create what people actually want to see. So best case scenario, if everyone buys these books and I can write as many as I want. I have a pretty detailed outline of ideas for this series. A bit like Robert Jordan, I already know how I want it to end. As for how many books, I'd love to get to book 12. That would be the perfect number. And I know it's a big damn number, but at the same time, I don't want this to be like Dresden Files or Skullduggery Pleasant. You know, series that just go on forever, indefinitely. I like endings. And besides, I've got other books I want to write in my lifetime. So that's it. 12. This world is huge. The mythology has so much to draw upon, and I've got several really kick-ass plot lines that I'd love to get the chance to play with. It's kind of like every 3 books will have their own mini arc of a sort, and I can't explain any further than that, unfortunately, because that's all spoiled book 3, but they're really good. Really good. And perhaps I shouldn't say this, but I've already worked into these 3 books a little bit of foreshadowing for the end of the series. You know, just in case. Just in case. Yeah, surely this has occurred to you already, right? The absurdity of someone doing their own book review. Can you actually trust me on anything? Surely I'm not going to mention flaws, and how would I even know if the flaws existed? Well, there is some truth to that line of questioning. I've attempted some very ambitious plot lines and some tricky character arcs. I think I've succeeded at them, and I've used multiple editors and beta readers to help ensure that I've pulled it off. But you may read it and just find you disagree. You might think a lot of these things didn't work, and that's always a possibility. But as for flaws, I don't think you'll find flaws so much as you'll find things that not everyone's gonna like. Stylistic choices. For example, these books have romance and sex scenes. Not everyone's gonna like those, so there's romance plot lines in all 3 books. It's not the main plot by any means, but it's part of the main plot sort of woven in there. Each book also has about 2 or 3 sex scenes, and these are proper sex scenes. Like, they don't just allude to sex in a coy manner, but they're also not whole chapters of sex like you might find in smut or erotica. So this is somewhere in the middle. Each sex scene, think about 2 or 3 solid pages with some explicitness. Each of those scenes are there to show where the characters are on their internal journey and reveal things about the relationship. It's for the plot, I swear. It's not just sex for the sake of it, but it is intended also to be depicted with certain realism. They're also hot. I mean it. These are damn good sex scenes. Just saying, but I've had positive feedback about them. Another thing that people may not like about my books is how fast the plot is. These books are written to be page turners. I would love to hear feedback of readers who got swept up and read the whole book in 1 or 2 sittings. That'd be like the dream. And that's kind of what I'm going for. But it does mean that some readers might be left feeling a little bit lost. Like the plot moved on so fast and they were left behind. That is a possibility. Another thing, a portion of the mythology and world building I use in this book is based off Christianity. And I rewrite it in a manner that some might consider disrespectful. It's not intended to be, but people can take it that way. Things like Adam and Eve were not the first 2 humans, they were the first 2 immortals, for example. And also, most of the villains are religious. And that's not trying to vilify religious people, that's kind of just drawing from history. Another thing that some people may not like about it is there are gay people in it. Which I guess leads us to... So as you might expect, there is a lot of representation in my books. For one, the Immortal Society is very international. There's a huge range of countries of origin on display here. In just book 1, we have characters from England, France, Jamaica, India, Iran, Nigeria, and Korea. And in book 2, it actually expands a lot more beyond that. We even have a token American. Yeah. Ooh. There is always 50-50 male and female characters, and the women share the spotlight and the decision-making in the story, plus women are often in roles of authority and command. But they also don't walk around having conversations with the open air about how empowered they feel. You know, it's none of that over-the-top stuff either. A huge theme in this series is the Imperium's attitude around race and gender. As you might expect, there are some widespread issues of white supremacy and chauvinism on full display. And the books don't downplay it either. You see, there are multiple types of immortals, and I've worked very hard to avoid mentioning specifics and spoilers here, but there are some immortal races that are considered lesser than others, and the higher races hold all the power. So there's plenty of the darker side of race and gender representation on display here as well. There is a consistent LGBT presence in this series too, and for neurodivergent people. But I want to explain my approach on this. This is not queer literature, where people explore their sexuality, experiment, and find themselves. These people simply exist here in my stories. For example, the main character, Jason, is bisexual. He's not in the middle of finding himself, but he's also not talking about it all the time like a vegan. Sorry, vegans. No, Jason sees a guy who he thinks is cute. And that's about it. There's a non-binary character in book 3 who uses they-them pronouns. They don't shout about it to the rooftops, they simply exist, because my goal here is to simply normalize and familiarize people like this. This is not a particularly violent series. I think graphic violence is sometimes a crutch that writers over-rely on to make a story seem deep or tense. So there is a ton of action, sometimes it's violent, but it's also not really over the top. That said, there are a few rare instances where immortal power is used to cause some serious damage. The goal here is to treat it with a sense of realism. And I do treat it on a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, I don't think squeamish people will have any problem here. There are those sex scenes I mentioned earlier. They are very much adult content, or perhaps new adults. And there is pretty consistent swearing here too. Although, like violence, I do think swearing can be overused as well. I think a good curse word in a book is a bit like a good exclamation point. It has to be earned a little bit, and overuse can undermine it. There are themes of abuse, such as abusive parents and abusive partners. Bit of a trigger warning for that. And I hate to say this, but there are 2 acts of sexual assault, both in the second book. One is very brief, and one is a fair bit more intense. I actually tried really hard to not put these in there at all, but all of my readers said that it was unrealistic to just avoid it. I mean, these are very powerful immortals with some very chauvinistic beliefs. This sort of thing would naturally happen. So it is in there, sort of as a last resort from me, and it's framed as a terrible thing that we see the cost of. But still, trigger warning for that. Is the ending worth it? Man, how do I answer this about my own books? Look, each book is quite episodic. So there's an ending of the primary conflict at the end of each book. with clear links to the next one and overarching plot lines. As it stands, I think all 3 books are pretty great, and it's worth reading them all, but the series is far from complete. How much should you try? Well, book 1 is designed to be the perfect introduction. That's the thing when you're an indie author, you don't have time to waste. If you get a reader's attention, you gotta make it count right away. So book 1 is a great sampling of my work. I'm very proud of it and I stand by it. That said, if you like heavier fantasy stories, you'll want to read into book 2 where you see more of that. That's where we start to explore magic systems and really seeing the true glimpses of what immortals are capable of. But everything else you get right away in book 1. Well, that's it. That's all I've got. So good luck, my friends, and happy reading. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you'll check out my books, and even if they don't sound like they're right for you, please consider supporting them on their launch anyway, just as a way of saying thank you if my work has ever helped you find a good book or grow your love for reading. Now, this video is also the first in our monthly theme of Indie September, looking at indie books. I've got so many more I want to cover this month, and I'd love for you to check them out. Indie authors don't have a lot of clickbait appeal or name recognition, which is kind of what YouTube content thrives off. So I do hope you'll trust me and give these ones a look anyway. Next week, we're looking at The Kinetic Sequence by author Arbor Barrow, a young adult sci-fi, and it's really damn good. I hope you'll check it out. So one last time, you can check out my Kickstarter launch page in the link below. It's running from the 30th of September to the 1st of November 2024. And by 2025, of course, the books will be available on my website. You can check them out. One final note today, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everyone who has been cheering me on, telling me they can't wait to read my books, and sharing their excitement. If I'm being honest, this has been a tough year for me. Trying to keep up with YouTube content, trying to prepare 3 books for publication, and yes, working a part-time job. It's been very busy. But the end is in sight, and your encouragement has meant the world to me. Every kind compliment has given me a bit more strength to keep going. Especially thank you to my Patreons. Now, I know YouTubers say this all the time, but you guys have been encouraging as hell. So many kind words, so much enthusiasm, and yes, financial support has all helped me come this far. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Well, that's all for now. I will see you next time, and I hope you enjoy a good book today. Bye. It's time. It's time.